Terry Blackburn here. I have a property portfolio worth over £10 million. I've built and sold multiple companies, some in seven-figure deals. I wrote two successful books, one won awards all over the world. All of these awards behind me are national and international awards for some of my companies. Coach people one-on-one, and I run masterminds. Now, if you like what I talk about in this session, if you listen to my podcast, you follow us on Instagram, you follow the YouTube page, if you like what I talk about and I resonate with you and you can relate to me, jump on my website, which is terryblackburnproperty.com. All of the different services that I have is on there. I'd love to work with you and I'd love to help you get to where you want to be, whether that's in property, whether that's in business, whether it's in sales, goal setting, whatever it is that you want to achieve and want to learn. I'm your man. Enjoy the rest of the episode and speak soon.
So in this episode, we're going to do some commonly asked questions. We're going to do questions that I get asked all the time from customers, from one-to-one customers, from businesses that I'm working with, individuals, property investors. We're going to cover loads of different stuff. So we're going to do question by question in different categories. So the first category is people who want help with negotiating property deals and securing discounts, working with angel investors, agents, vendors, etc. So first question. What is the number one mistake property investors make when negotiating a deal? So most property investors, in my experience, don't know how to sell and they don't know how to negotiate. The number one mistake, there's probably about 10, but the number one mistake, I think, is they try and lowball vendors or agents too quickly. They don't position their offer properly. They don't, I teach a shoot down, pick back up method, as in you don't make a really negative offer and shoot down the property too much. You need to shoot it down and pick it back up. So I think the style of your negotiation is probably the number one mistake. A little tip is nearly everybody will have a counter offer. So whatever you offer in the first place, anticipate the counter. So if you know that the vendor is going to counter, you need to be offering lower than your highest in the first place, because nearly always they'll counter. There's loads of different types of negotiation techniques that apply to property investing, but I'll probably say that's the number one mistake. Question 2. How do you get a seller to accept a low offer without offending them? Some people will always take offense, right? No matter what you do. But you can offer a low offer, and I offer 50%, 40%, 30% below market value, right? I've offered 50% below market value before and had it accepted. Some people will think that that's far too low. But if you explain the reason for your offer and highlight the key issues with that property, the comparables, the location, the amount of work that's needed, and you're in a position of credibility and authority, then you won't offend everybody. You're always going to offend somebody, right, if you're offering low. So that's my answer. Question 3. What's the easiest way to negotiate a property discount in 60 seconds? I mean, in 60 seconds, the easiest way to negotiate a discount would be make sure that you're positioning your offer from a place of credibility and likability. They like you, they trust you, they think that you know what you're talking about. And you give substance, you give rationale as to why you are offering them, offering so low. Provide proof of funds, mortgage in principle, proof of ID, proof of address, solicitor's details. Show that you are credible and show that you can act quickly. That's what I'd say. Question 4. How do you spot a motivated seller before they've said a word? I don't know if you can spot them before they've said a word. But you can read people's body language. If you direct a vendor, for example, you can read people's body language and tell if they are motivated, the way they speak, the way they say things. But you can check things like how long it's been on the market, if they are saying a price up front, if they are saying that speed's important to them, or they are saying that they need a certain price by a certain time period. All of these are generally indications of a motivated seller. If it's been on the market a while, if it's been on and off the market a while, if they've had a sale agreed and it's fell through, there's lots and lots of different indications that identify a motivated seller. But before they've said a word, I'm not too sure on that question. Question 5. What's the best way to get an estate agent to send you off-market deals? Now, I teach this in my masterminds. I teach this to my one-to-one customers. Most of the deals that I do are brought to me direct from estate agents. And through time of doing this, through building proper relationships, from being a nice person, using your communication and sales skills to build a relationship with estate agents, being a man or woman of your word and getting them to like and trust you and know what you're looking for and know that you can action stuff quickly, will help with getting estate agents to send you deals for sure. Big part of my game. And it's a skill, right? It's a sales and communication skill set here that you use to build relationships with agents. Really, really key. How do you get a seller to say yes when they are hesitant? If they're hesitant, if you're getting pushback, maybe you've presented your offer and the vendor is hesitant to accept. I'm not saying, I would never say that you push somebody into selling the property cheap. I would never say that, and that's not my view. But if they are hesitant, you need to determine why they are hesitant. Is it speed that they're looking for? Is that more important to them? Is it a certain price point? You know, what is important to them? Why are they selling the property? Once you know that, you can come up with an offer that is a win-win. And by the way, it should always be a win-win. It shouldn't be you stealing the property off somebody. It's such a discount that they feel like you've robbed them. Like, that's not what this is about. It's got to be a win-win. And yes, sometimes you win more than them. Sometimes they win more than you, right? But it's got to be a win-win to some degree. Next question. What's the secret to negotiating property deals like a pro? I don't know who sent this question. The secret, you know, there is no secret, right? But there's lots of negotiating techniques that you can use to negotiate like a pro, like a professional. It's too long, that subject, to cover in this short, but little things that you can do. The starting point of a negotiation is coming from, they've got to like you in some capacity. If they think you're a knobhead, they're not going to negotiate with you. You've got to be likable first. You've got to say the right things, show experience, credibility, proceedability, as in you've got the cash, you've got the mortgage in principle, and understanding how people work, understanding why they want to sell, what is their rationale, what's the reason behind selling, speed, price, you know, hassle, reducing hassle, whatever it may be. Then you can tailor your offer to play on their, you know, the problem that they have, the solution that they want. You can build your offer around that, which puts you in the driving seat in a negotiation. Sure. How do you make estate agents work with you instead of working against you? I've answered this in a previous question, but instead of working against you, I suppose, you shouldn't, in my opinion, only ring an estate agent when they've got stock on the market that you want to view. How you build proper relationships with agents is you regularly keep in contact with them and you build a proper relationship with them. You call in and see them, you ring them regularly, you email them regularly, you're building a relationship. And when you do that, they will start to warm to you, they'll know you. And some other investors are only ringing estate agents when they want to view a deal. They're not regularly keeping in contact with them. If you want to get a constant deal flow, then you need to keep in regular contact, because they will forget. They get 101 phone calls daily, right? They will just naturally forget about you if you don't keep in contact with them. So that's how to make them work with you. And obviously the reverse of that, if you're not doing that, they're going to probably work against you. Yeah. What's the one sales technique that can get you a better deal on a property? I'll say that again. What's the one sales technique that can get you a better deal on any property? The one sales technique, there's multiple sales techniques, but learning how to negotiate, learning how to speak, even how you use your voice, right? If you're monotone like this and you're speaking like this to an estate agent, they're probably not going to want to speak to you because you sound boring and you don't sound very happy. You sound a bit grumpy and miserable, right? But if you up and down with your tone and you emphasize on certain words and you sound like a nice person, you sound like someone who they want to deal with, you're proceedable, you're credible, you know your stuff, then they're much more likely to work with you. So using your voice and your personality and your communication skills when you are speaking to agents is a massive sales technique that puts you in front of others. If there's two people got the same offer, there's you and there's Mr. Grumpy, they're going to rather deal with you because you sound better and you sound like a nicer person to deal with. Yeah. Next question. How do you get a seller to trust you enough to accept a creative deal? So you have to boil that back a little bit, because people will only trust you if they like you and they think that you are credible and you are experienced and you can solve the problem that they've got. Yeah? The starting point of that is being likable. They're not going to even listen to you if they don't like you. They've got to like you first, then they're going to start to listen to you, and you're going to say the right things when they're listening to you to gain their trust, credibility, authority. All of those things, you're proceedable, you're a nice person, you're going to show all of that, they're going to gain trust, then and only then will they accept and do some sort of creative deal. But remember, the creative deals, it has to be a win-win. You have to solve their problem with a win-win solution. Yeah? So we've got some questions on raising angel finance here and selling your property deals. So first question in this category is, what's the biggest mistake property investors make when pitching angel investors? Definitely, they come across too keen. They come across too desperate, and they go in for the kill too quickly. Nobody's going to lend you money in your first interaction with them. Yeah? It's like walking up to somebody in the street and ask a random person, asking them for 10 grand. It's never going to happen. You need to build a relationship with them first and say the right things, make them like you, make them listen to you, make them trust you with what you're going to say, build a relationship over the long term, and that will result in, a lot of the time, a long-term relationship, and they may invest with you. But the mistake is people go in far too quickly. They try and go in for the kill. Day one, conversation one, it looks desperate, and angel investors back off. Next question. How do you get angel investors to say yes in the first meeting? In my opinion, a lot of them won't say yes in the first meeting. It will take multiple meetings because you've got to build a relationship first. You can't expect to send someone a message on Instagram and them to invest £100,000 with you off the back of that message, or take them for one coffee and ask and expect them to invest. There's exceptions to every rule, but majority of the time they will not do that in the first meeting. So I think the question needs to be, reworded. They're not going to say yes in a lot of time in the first meeting. So I would give that some thought. What's the best way to sell your investment deals to an investor? So the quality of the deal, the quality of the investor, of course, right? If you've got an unbelievable deal, fantastic ROI, high profit, it's a lot easier to find the investor. And if your investors aren't that qualified and they're not that proceedable, then that's going to be hard too, right? So the two main parts to that question are, the best way to sell your investment deals to an investor is have good deals and have good investors. Loads of viewings to find the deals, loads of networking, loads of communicating, meeting people to build your investor list. That's what I would say. Next question. How do you convince investors to fund your deals, even if you're new to property? Okay. So it's going to be tough, right? If you are brand new to property, you've got no credibility, you've got no experience, it's going to be tougher than the person who is experienced, of course. But it's a numbers game. You need to speak to loads of people. You need to find really good deals. You need to network. You need to build your profile. You need to build your experience by doing coaching, by doing masterminds, by going to networking events, by doing loads of viewings, building your relationship, building your knowledge, reading books, doing podcasts. Like, that's how you build your credibility and authority, so it's easier for somebody to invest with you. Next question. What's the secret to making investors chase you instead of the other way around? So it's not going to happen overnight, that, right? I've now got people coming to me on my Instagram and on my socials who want to invest with me, but I've been posting heavily since 2020. I'm showing up regularly. I've got credibility. I've got a track record. You can't skip those reps. You can't just instantly get them to chase you and to start wanting to invest with you. It's not that easy. I wish it was. But the answer to that question is, to get them to want to work with you, you've got to be someone who's investable and someone who they want to work with by showing your personality, credibility, authority over a long enough time frame so that they want to work with you. Yeah. How do you make your property investment opportunity irresistible? I mean, irresistible is a strong word, right? I don't think it's ever going to be so irresistible that everybody says yes. But you can make it more appealing for sure by the numbers, how it's presented, what the numbers actually are, how good the deal is, of course, and how good you are. There's two parts to raising money. It's the deal, the opportunity, and you. If the opportunity is great, but you're a knob, they're not going to invest. If you're great, but the deal's crap, they're not going to invest. You need both. Yeah. Next question. What's the best way to handle objections from an investor? What's the best way to handle objections from an investor? So I would say if you're getting lots of objections in any capacity, whether that's a sale, whether that's, pitching people an investment opportunity, making offers, a lot of the time that's on your process, right? It's something that you're doing that needs to change. So if you are pitching people in an investment opportunity all the time and everyone's saying, no, look at yourself, right? Look at how you're presenting it. Look at your communication and sales skills. Look at the actual opportunity that you're presenting and look at who you're presenting it to. Because somewhere down the line, there will be something that you can change there that reduces objections anyway. And if you're getting objections, a lot of them can't be overturned when you're talking about big pots of money. Next question. How do you build trust with investors fast? You can't, as a short answer. Trust is gained over a period of time. There's no quick fixes to this. There's no fast, get rich quick, raise money quick, solutions. It takes time. So whoever asked that question, it's not going to happen fast. What's the biggest mistake investors make when structuring deals with angel investors? The biggest mistake, that I've seen from people who I know and people I've seen online is they overestimate the GDV and they underestimate the refurbishment, the rebuild, the build cost, because they're trying to be too ambitious. They're trying to make the deal, massage the numbers to make it sound better than it is, which is a huge mistake. Be conservative on the end val, and if anything, overestimate the refurbishment, add a contingency in so you're safer. And if you pull the deal in, it values up higher than you anticipated and you pull the refurb under what you anticipated, then you're winning, right? Next question. How do you use sales skills to get a JV partner on board? Now, sales is not manipulating people to do something that they don't want to do. I must be clear on that. Sales skills and negotiating skills is an essential skill to scale quickly. But being a nice person, being likable, being trustworthy, saying the right things, of course, matter when you're looking to onboard a JV partner. But again, you've got to make sure that they're right for you just as much as you're right for them. You don't want to jump into bed with anybody, because if you're financially tied to somebody in a joint venture and it goes wrong, it can be disastrous, right? So be careful with that. Make sure that they are right for you and you're right for them. Okay. So next set of questions is around mastering sales for property investing. Next question is, why do most property investors struggle with sales and how can you fix it? How you can fix it is you work with someone like me. There's most property educators have not got a clue about how to sell. They definitely haven't done the reps like I've done in sales. They haven't done 14 plus years in a sales environment. Yeah. They haven't done, I don't know, but have they read sales books? Have they done sales courses? Have they been in the field actively doing sales, selling a product or service for a long enough period of time? I don't know. From what I can see, most don't. Yeah. So I think most investors struggle with that because they're being taught from people that don't know how to sell. So reach out to me is what I'd say. Next question. What's the number one sales skill every property investor should master? Communication and negotiating skills, 100%, because that applies to offering on properties, building relationships with agents, working with angel investors, working with landlords, getting joint venture partners on board, negotiating with builders, solicitors, banks. Sales and negotiating, communicating is involved in every part of property investing, which I feel that most investors are completely missing. So, yeah, it's a huge skill that you should master, in my opinion. Next question. How do you use sales psychology to secure better deals? Sales psychology is a massive topic. Read Brian Tracy, The Psychology of Selling. Yeah, I teach this in my masterminds and my one-to-one. The psychology of selling is a huge topic and subject. couple of little things, reading someone's body language, eye contact, if they're negative or they're open, their body language, how they sit, how they carry themselves, the words that they use, how they say certain things, their tone of voice, all adds up to a big part of this. And if you get good at this, you can analyze somebody's body language, their words, and how they say things and how they speak and how they look to anticipate what they're going to say next and what their motivations are. Big topic. But once you master it, you'll secure more deals than if you didn't master it, for sure. Next question. What's the best way to get vendors to agree lease options in assisted sales? This comes down to finding out the reason that they are selling. If someone needs to sell their property and get all of the equity out quickly, obviously it's not going to work, right? There's a lot more to this. I teach lease options and I teach assisted sales, how to negotiate them via email. And you start the conversation with asking about what's the reason that you're looking to sell the property. Because once you've got that information, you can start to build a bit of a picture of their situation and slot in the solution. Lease options and assisted sales are solving problems that vendors and landlords have with a creative solution. How do you create urgency when negotiating with a seller? So you can do things like, my offer only stands until this time, this date, because I've got other projects in the pipeline. You can say things like, I do need to know the answer of this I do need to know your sort of answer, what's the word I'm looking for? I do need to know what your thoughts are and if you're happy to accept within this time period because I have other deals in the pipeline. Don't say, you don't want to be too forceful and too pushy at this point because some people will just see through it. But you can put a time pressure on things. You can say, I need to know by this date because I've got other stuff on. If you don't want to accept, that's absolutely fine. But I do need to know. Yeah, you can do little things like that. What's the one question that instantly reveals if a deal is worth pursuing? I don't think there is one question. I don't know who wrote this question. I don't think there's one question that you can ask that reveals if a deal is worth pursuing or not. You can ask questions about why they're selling, what they're looking for, how long it's been on the market, all of these questions, but I don't think there is one question, to be honest. Next question. How do you turn a no into a yes in property negotiations? So if you put an offer forward and the vendor says no, how do you turn that into a yes? You can counter offer if they say no, or you can offer, let's say if you offer 100,000 and say no, you can say, right, well, I'll offer 100,000 cash, or I'll offer 95,000 cash, 90,000 cash and complete in 3 weeks. Or you can say, I'll exchange contracts in 2 weeks and we'll complete within another 4, another 6. You can sweeten the deal by adding something else. You can say, I'm going to pay for your legals. I will complete in a certain time period if you accept. So to turn a no into a yes, it's finding out why they didn't accept it in the first place, I suppose, and trying to sweeten the deal with time, with money, with something that changes that no to a yes. What's the secret to getting buyers to pay top dollar for your properties? Top dollar. I don't know if this is someone American who's asked this question or that's just slang. But little things if you're doing a flip, I teach this all the time, is stage the property. Staging the property, you've got to remember when people are scrolling through Rightmove, they are just looking at the first few photographs. And if those first few photographs stand out and they look good, as in it's staged, nice colours, professional photographs, it's drawing them in to do a viewing. And if they walk around the property and it looks clean, it looks staged, it looks nice, they can visualize it, they will generally pay top dollar, as the question says, for the property. Yeah. The way it's marketed and staged definitely helps. Next question. How do you use sales techniques to secure below market value deals? Loads of things you can be doing on here. Volume of viewings, build a relationship with agents, how you position the offer, how you communicate the offer, if you're in a cash position or not. If you're in a proceedable position, you can move quickly on stuff, and finding out what the pain points are from the sellers, finding out why they are selling so you can solve it with a proposal. A lot of time below market value. Most of the deals I do are below market value. for sure. So there's a lot to it. Reach out. I've got a sales course and I train people on sales if you want to know a little bit more. What's the best way to structure a deal so everyone walks away happy? Great question. So I'm a big believer in this. I don't want anybody, when I do a deal with them, to feel like I've done them over and I've, screwed them. Like, that's not the way to do business. They've got to feel like they are winning, and so have you. So by creating a win-win, everybody does walk away happy, but that might be price, it might be speed, it might be a sweetener, it might be a creative element to the deal, but it's got to be a win-win. And you start by finding out why are they selling the property in the first place. And once you've got that information, you can look for the win-win. Yeah.